Hello, you're watching NewsX and I'm Vaishali Kohli. Nearly 5 years after the Taliban seized, of course viewers, now we're going to tell you about this. Now nearly 5 years after the Taliban seized control of Kabul, the Afghan government appointed diplomat Noor Ahmed Noor to its embassy in New Delhi. The Taliban-appointed diplomat has arrived in Delhi to assume duties as charge d'affaires. His appointment was finalized following a visit by Afghan's acting foreign minister Amir Mottaqi to Delhi in October 2025, during which he met External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar. Let's take a deeper look into the life of Noor Ahmed Noor. So this, viewers, is the latest, of course, that we're sharing with you. Now, Mufti Noor Ahmed is what we're really talking about at this point. And we're getting you all those details. So this is the latest that we're sharing with you, viewers. Mufti Noor Ahmed Noor is a senior Taliban official and diplomat who has recently arrived in New Delhi to take charge as the charge d'affaires at Afghanistan's embassy in India. Now, this marks a historic development as he is the first Taliban-appointed diplomat to assume a leadership role at the Afghan embassy in India since the Taliban regained control of Afghanistan in August 2021. Noor Ahmed Noor is a career diplomat within the Taliban's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, where he previously served as the Director General of the First Political Department. This role involved handling key political affairs and international relations, making him a trusted figure in the Taliban's diplomatic apparatus. A key highlight of Noor's track record is his participation in high-level delegations. He accompanied Afghan Foreign Minister Amir Mottaqi during his week-long official visit to India in October 2025, which was the first such trip by a senior Taliban official since 2021. Prior to his current posting, Noor's diplomatic activities appear concentrated within the Taliban's Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Kabul, with limited public details on earlier overseas assignments. However, he recently traveled to Dhaka in late December 25, where he reportedly met Islamist leaders, indicating his involvement in broader regional outreach. Overall, Noor Ahmed Noor's arrival in January 26 signals deepening pragmatic engagement between India and the Taliban administration, focused on humanitarian support, medical supplies, trade via Chabahar port, and visa facilitation for Afghans. I have Ambassador Anil Trigunayat, he's a former diplomat, joining me. Ambassador, welcome to the broadcast. And I want to begin, of course, by asking you that, how significant is India, just recognizing the fact that a Taliban-appointed diplomat is taking charge of the Afghan embassy? Does this amount to tacit recognition?
Well, if you know that we have to look at it in the perspective of Afghanistan rather than simply Taliban. Taliban is ruling Afghanistan at the moment, and India has historic civilizational ties with Afghanistan and has always stood with the people of Afghanistan. It is in that context that India, about 2 years ago, upgraded its ties and sent a council-level officer to our embassy in Afghanistan. And since then, the embassy is working as a technical mission and during the recent visit of Afghan foreign minister to India, which was a major watershed in the relations, I would say, and that has led to the reopening of the Afghan embassy with the Taliban diplomat, who was director of their political affairs and has been visiting India in the past also, including along with the minister. There was his health minister's visit, and the several other agreements have been signed between the two countries. And there are possibilities of continuing on their various projects that were stalled due to the problems that were happening there. So India is fully committed to, as you rightly mentioned, providing humanitarian assistance, technical assistance, capacity building assistance to Afghanistan and Afghan people per se, because there is a tremendous goodwill. Moreover, as you mentioned, it is also a pragmatic decision because nearly every country is working with them de facto basis, even if not on de jure basis. Russia is one country that has recognized, China has accepted their ambassador. So in the region, we are looking at a situation where eventually you got to deal with the government of the day, whichever is there. And that's what precisely India is trying to do, even though we have not yet given an official diplomatic recognition to the Taliban government in accordance with the UN Security Council resolution. But de facto collaboration is continuing, and Afghanistan's stability and security is also of paramount importance for India. And that's where India is trying to provide all the assistance that is necessary so that the people of Afghanistan, especially the humanitarian assistance, medical assistance, food assistance, is not prevented reaching to the ordinary people of Afghanistan.
All right. I'd request my guest to stay on with me. But now that we've taken a look at who he is, let's take a look at the timeline of India-Afghanistan diplomatic ties since the takeover in 2021. Let me give you a view of that, viewers. India-Afghanistan diplomatic ties since 2021, August 2021. India closed its embassy, evacuated citizens, and suspended ties. Since 2021, now we're talking about the period of late 2021, India begins humanitarian and aid deliveries without recognizing the regime. Now, the period that we're talking about is June 2022. India reopens technical mission in Kabul to facilitate and aid delivery and monitoring. Now, 2022 viewers to 2023. Ongoing aid shipments continue. Afghan embassy in New Delhi sees internal shifts. 2024 to early 2025. Gradual high-level contacts build. Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri meets Acting FM Amir Khan Mottaqi. October, let's go to October 2025. Now, Taliban Foreign Minister Amir Khan Mottaqi visits New Delhi, meets Finance Minister Jaishankar, and India upgrades technical mission to embassy status. Now we're going to talk about Jan 2026. Now, Afghanistan appoints Taliban-aligned diplomat to its mission in India. Noor Ahmed Noor arrives in New Delhi. So this is the latest, all of that whole timeline, viewers, of the diplomatic ties between the two countries. I want to now go across to Ambassador Anil Srigunayat. He is a former diplomat on the broadcast. Now, Ambassador Srigunayat, the question really is that, we've shared the timeline of the diplomatic ties between the two countries. I'd like your comments on it.
Been a consistent engagement with Afghanistan because Afghanistan is an important neighbor for India, and we are the only country which in the past 20 years, when the United States continued to occupy it, India was the only country that was trying to help in rebuilding of Afghanistan for 20 odd years. So Taliban, irrespective of their political or religious affiliations, are at the end of the day Afghan people. And they realize that India is the only country that stands historically and even during these difficult times with them. And therefore, they outreach to us. And our Foreign Secretary, as you mentioned, Vikram Misri, met Mr. Mottaqi. And thereafter, several other small delegations have been visiting each other. India has been providing several 100,000 tons of wheat supplies. First, as you remember, that it was to go through Pakistan, which it refused in the first place. And then India also sent lots through Chabahar port, which is in Iran, to Afghanistan. And then they needed a lot of medical supplies, and therefore our technical mission was reopened, and then we also upgraded it after the visit of Mr. Mottaqi to a full embassy level. Although we have not appointed an ambassador as yet, but de facto, the charge d'affaires, both sides, will be continuing to be the real interlocutors between the two countries. So now it was natural and progression of events that the Taliban, which has been wanting to send another officer because the former charge d'affaires had left after several years here. He left for UK or some other place from here. And so there were no officers in the Taliban, in the Afghan embassy. So Afghanistan. But let me also tell you one thing. Traditionally, India does not recognize a regime. It recognizes a country. And we have diplomatic relations with Afghanistan, which have never been disrupted or ruptured. So therefore, this is merely, in-housing the people who are currently in the government, and they are obliged to send. Also, you must remember that despite all the problems, India has been providing assistance to Afghan diplomats, because at the end of the day, country has to continue to operate. So online training was provided to several diplomats by us, which has been the case all through. In fact, there was a project in which India and China both were training the Afghan diplomats in the past. And so now these are the kind of things that are going on. Today, they greatly appreciate India's stand for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Afghanistan, which is, of course, threatened by Pakistan in the recent times, or by the United States, as it wants to take its Bagram air base. India supports that Afghanistan must maintain its territorial integrity and sovereignty, and it stands for it. And that is also as per the UN Charter. So India's actions have been calibrated and responsive, a positive response to a historic and civilizational partner.
Ambassador Srigunayad, do you think that this move will help India counter Pakistan's influence in Afghanistan, or does it carry its own risks?
Well, Afghan people are very proud people. In fact, it's the other way around. Pakistan influence, I don't think any longer exists to the extent we have seen in recent years. That Afghanistan and Pakistan have drifted apart on the question of TTP and several other reasons. They have had fights and conflicts on the region, on the borders. So India is there to help and support them, maintaining their sovereignty. But this is, each relationship stands on its own. But I think that a relationship with India has been far more civilizational. It is no doubt that Taliban or its predecessor Mujahideens were created by Pakistan with the help of US and Saudi Arabia to fight against Soviet Union in the late 70s and early 80s. But thereafter, they continued to help them. ISI was mentoring a lot of them, especially certain groups. And Taliban is not a monolith organization. It has many, many groups, tribals and others who are part of it. Certain groups have been very pro-Pakistan. But they have also realized at the end of the day, they are Afghan first. And so they have realized that the Pakistani designs on Afghanistan have not been benign and have been basically hurting their own interests. And that was clearly evident when India tried to send 50,000 tons of wheat to a very difficult situation in Afghanistan. And Pakistan did not allow that for months. So that is something that very clearly showed them. The ordinary people are more important than the just regime officials. And told them that India is really serious about helping tide over various difficulties that the country and the regime are facing.
Thank you, Ambassador Srigunayad, for joining me on the broadcast.